Hey guys, this is Classic AJ with another review, and this time I thought I'd do it on something unique which I recently acquired. And you know, since it's the end of summer break and I'm going to be starting college, this would be a great finale video, or finale review. So this is my Wacky Gator machine, which was distributed by Data East in the early 90s, so yes, this might be some nostalgia overload. It was designed by Namco, so I think the companies got together and they made the item. Because this game was originally made by Namco in Japan, it was released as Gator Panic, or Kani Panic, which I think it was like the late 80s. And then in the 90s this was released, and then they made other versions later on, which I'll get to in a little bit. But yes, some of you guys might remember this game, hitting the gators, and the gators come out of their little coves, and you hit them, and you try and get a high score, and then it ranks you at the end. So as you can see right here, this is the Western version of Gator Panic, because the original one was made in '88, the Japanese version, and then I think this was made 2 years later in '90. Some sources say it was made in '92, I think the manual says that, but I can confirm it was made in '90 because there was a television series that aired in the early 1990 called The Babysitter's Club. Not the Netflix version, but there was one that made in the early 90s, and it was like April or May of '90 that the episode was made. They were in an arcade, and this game appeared in it, so I can confirm this game was made in 1990. I am not a 90s kid myself, but I did some research, so I know some stuff. And part of why I got this game was because I've lately been on this kick on arcade games that were made in the 90s, such as pinball machines, and especially Redemption, because a lot of arcades take their old games out from the 90s and replace them with new ones, or either the older arcades go out of business. Sometimes the games break and they often need repairs, and most people don't know how to repair the machines, so yeah, it's unfortunate that you don't see games like this as much anymore. And I could even speak as a 2000s kid myself. I experienced some of these games in the arcades, and they were some of my all-time favorite games that were made. The thing with 90s arcade games that are Redemption, they're not like the ones nowadays that have like a screen and high-tech LEDs based off of phone apps, where you just pull a lever and stop a light hoping to win a jackpot, spit out boatloads of tickets. The Redemption games in the 90s were more about skill, and that's what I like about them. They didn't give as many tickets, but they were more about skill. Some good examples of games made in the 90s was Spider Stompin', which is basically like a little mini DDR that has flashing lights, and you stomp on the flashing lights. That's a classic. Wacky Gator, obviously. Lasertron was a big company that produced arcade games in the 90s, and one of them was Rivet Race, in which featured two frog characters named Hoppin' Harry and Jumpin' Jack. It had this really repetitive attract mode, and you push the buttons and basically race your frogs to the top like a classic racing game at the carnival. Some other games I remember as a kid was Godzilla Wars Jr. by Namco, where you would shoot ping pong balls into Godzilla's mouth 6 times and you would get a bonus. Another one would be Hungry Hungry Hippos, which is the large version. It was a dome made by ice, kind of like Super Chex. And those two games, if I ever saw them again, those would be a dream, even just to play them. Like, yeah, having them is one thing, but just seeing them again and playing them will be epic. So if anyone knows where one is, I'd love to play it sometime. So the story and how I got this. I picked it up at the Pinball Shop, which is an arcade store in Ohio, and they have excellent repair services. So I was originally going to get that Ms. Pac-Man cabinet repaired, and also I had a Pachislo slot machine over here. Unfortunately, that couldn't get repaired because it was going to end up costing more to repair it than what the machine's worth. Some chips in the board ended up getting bursted when I was trying to fix the sound. I basically took pictures before I unplugged everything on the board, trying to find the volume control, plugged them back in, and I must have done something wrong. I'm kind of new to repairing, plus it was like 30 years old anyway. It was a Japanese universal slot machine, and then they ended up repairing my Ms. Pac-Man cabinet with multi-cade ROM in it, and the monitor was busted on it, the original one, so they replaced it with an LCD screen, and that works great. And then while I was in the warehouse, I was looking in the back to see if there was any old games, and to my surprise, there was a rare similar game called Cracky Crab, which I was originally going to get, but unfortunately it had a bad board. and they actually got 2 of them in. I think there's one that they're working on right now. So, I mean, at least I want to play. That's, again, I've never seen the game in person, but that's another game that I want to try at some point. It's basically like this, except the crabs are on the sides of the game, and they come out on the side, and sometimes they would scurry over to the other side and you would whack them. That was made by Namco. But luckily, they had a Wacky Gator in the back as well when I was in the warehouse. And they had that, and they were repairing it. Basically what they did was they added the 28 volt lights, which don't last as long as the incandescents and pinball machines, which are 6.3 volts. So therefore, a lot of Wacky Gators in the arcades don't have this marquee lighting up anymore, or the ranking lights, and those have to be replaced, which is easy to do. You have to unscrew those 3 screws, and then the back glass comes off, and you can replace the lights very easily right there. They're 28 volt lamps. Also, the Gators that pop up, they have bearings on the top, and they have little guide tracks that when they pop up, they have little bearings that come off. And a common issue with these is that the bearings wear off, and sometimes the Gator only pops up midway and it counts as a hit. Another issue with these is that the rubber wheels on the back wear out over time, and they leave marks on the track basically, and those have to be cleaned off. All tracks appear to be in clean working condition. As you can see right here, there's a little bit of a mark right here. So what I might do on this Gator is I might add some soft felt from the craft store, and I put it on here. Also, they did some touch up on the Gators. They did some touch up on the cabinet, like right there. Really nice touch up. You got the original art right here, as well on the back right here. They did some touch up over here. I love the art on here, by the way. Super funny. There's the Gator just chilling in the back, and then there's the Gator just drinking a margarita on the beach. It's funny. Unfortunately, this Gator right here has a small crack in the plastic, but it's so small it's barely noticeable. And what I did basically was I just added packing tape over it on there, and I put some on the back side too, so it reinforces it a bit. Yeah, basically what happens over time is that sometimes kids in the arcades whack the Gators. Plastic's really durable on these, but over time there's a bunch of whacking applied to them. The Gator heads snap off, sometimes entirely, and the parts need to be replaced. And parts for this game are pretty hard to find, especially the Gator heads. Those only come in like every once in a while, I guess. That's part of why arcades often remove the mallet from this game. Another reason could be is that some rough kids might play rough with each other and hit each other in the head, especially nose, and that would hurt. So some arcades might replace the mallet with a softer one to prolong the condition of the game and keep everyone safe. Some arcades also have a sign that says softer hits will give you more points, and that's what I usually do when I play the game. I just hit the Gator softly, plus it's easier to maneuver from Gator to Gator, and it will get you a higher score. Now if you use your hands, you get a really high score, and I got 91 on this machine with my hands, and my highest on this machine is 84. I think I might have got 100 something on Wacky Gator 2 when I played that in Niagara Falls, which is a newer version made in 2000. But we're going to put some coins in this machine. It's currently set on 25 cents, so we'll see it in action, and you'll get to hear some of his famous lines that you might remember.
I'm gonna get you. Ouch. 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 Ouch.
now I'm going to play it again, and I'm going to show you guys a closer look at the gators.
I'm gonna get you. Ouch. 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 Now I'm angry. You win.
Oh yeah, high score. Let's go. 85. Alright, now I'm going to give a little info on maintenance of this machine. So yeah, this is quite a mechanical redemption game. Probably one of the most mechanical redemptions of the 90s. And I'm going to give some basic repair maintenance tips. I'm not an expert at this, but I'll just give you some ideas on where everything's located. So to get to the gators is pretty easy. You just have to unscrew these bolts right here. There's 2 on this side, and then there's 2 on the other side. And the whole thing lifts up. This whole top portion lifts up, and you can easily get to the gators. You're going to need a wrench to get inside the, like there's like upper tracks of the gators. You can get access to the gators and repair what's needed, or, you know, add anything, replace a piece or whatever to them. And then I don't know much about it, but you open this up, and I think there might be something in here. You have to you can lift this up to get to the motor assemblies, the actual motors which are underneath here. And then let's take a look down here. Here's some basics. So this is your coin mech. Down here is where the coins fall. And I do have the manual down here. I think it might have been reprinted. I'm not sure, but it just shows basic, you know, operations and stuff, and all the parts that you might need. So if you're missing a part, you could easily find it in the manual. And it shows some troubleshooting tips. So your basic one is the test button right here. So this red button will start a game. Don't worry, it's not a bad button. I know, don't press the red button. You can press it, it'll just start a game without having to use the coin mech. And there's your volume shift control. There's your play counter. If you can't really read that, that says 101,427. That's how many times the game's been played, which is quite a bit, which I think maybe it's probably used to be in an arcade in the 90s, and now it's here. And then you got this test button, which is basically like your diagnostics, so you can hit that. So if you hit it once, it shows your displays, and make sure all your displays are lit up. I think they replaced this one. They got it from a Cracky Crab, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, as you can see, all displays are working. It goes up to all the digits that are used in the game, and then it shows all the lights. See, all lights are working. And then if you press it again, the gators come out. So you want to make sure all your gators are working. All of them come out great. That one does not close the mouth just because the bearing does not hit the side. Again, minor adjustment. So you can hit the gators to make sure the sensors work on them. And then your next mode, if you hit it again, is your switch mode, I'm pretty sure. So if you do this, it shows, like I'm doing this right now, it shows a number 2. That means the coin switch works. In fact, I'll do both. Both coin switches work. And if I press it again, it does the sound test. And I'll play all the sounds so you can hear them.
Very good. You win.
And then you press the button again, go back to regular play mode. So yeah, that last sound that played was the alarm that sounds when something goes wrong in the game or an error code pops up. One of the more common errors is error 22, which means the number 22 pops up on all these score displays, and that means one of the gators isn't working properly, and that means one of them might need a slight adjustment or it might need to be serviced entirely. Depends. Also, it's unfortunate. I did check the manual on this, but the sound test does not include the line "Now I'm angry" or the scale that plays when it's being played, the background music. I don't know why they didn't include that in the module, but it's one of the best lines of the game in my opinion. So
Now I'm angry.
alright, some other service tips on this, basic ones, is that yeah, these keys are in here, and I'm pretty sure the access to the board in the back and the power supply, you're going to need a different key. So I'm going to take one of these out. Oops. Here we go. And then another thing you want to make sure is common sense, but make sure the machine's off when you're accessing the back and the board, because it's for safety purposes. If it's on, then yeah, you could easily get shocked by the board, and you don't want that happening. So I'm going to open up the board, and I'm going to show some basic things, that at least how to access it. So yeah, sometimes it might take a little bit to open this here, but here is the back of the machine. And this is the board, or the PCB of the machine. Now, the one thing I want to show is how to disable the track mode. So, if I can turn on my flashlight, I will show you. So the series of on-off switches you can see right here on the board. So here's the whole board, and this is where the on-off switches are located. And they're in the manual if you want to check that out. I think the manual's online, so you can take a read at that. But I'm going to talk about the attract mode. So some of these switches are meant to be left on a certain position because they were for like factory use or factory testing of this. But some of them are for setting the game for like certain ticket payouts for certain points when you play the game in redemption arcades. And you can set it to 50 cents. So you can set it to 25 or 50 cents. But switch number 5 is for the attract mode, and the attract mode goes off every 2 minutes or so. It's the theme song that plays during the game, and right now it's disabled for the sake of the review. I don't want it going off the entire review, but you're going to want like a small screwdriver or so, and you're going to want to focus on that one switch, because the switches are small. So I'm going to turn that on, and I will demonstrate the attract mode that plays. I swear, that song should be a meme. So the thing I forgot to mention, and it would be useful for playing this in an arcade that has these lights out. So I'm looking at the manual right now, and I'm looking at the scores and rankings, because depending on your score, it will give you a ranking. So under or less than 29 is give up. It will give you give up, and the machine will say, what will it say? You missed me. If you get a 30 to 49 score, it'll give you try harder, and it'll say you can do better. If you get a 50 to 69 score, it'll give you not bad, and it'll say try harder. And if you get a 70 to 79, it'll give you good. It'll say pretty good. I'd say that's the ranking I've gotten the most when I played this. And then 80 or greater will give you expert, and it'll say you win. So that's just a little bit of a technique on how to tell your score if these lights and the ranking lights are not working in the arcade. Alright, so one last maintenance tip before I end this review, and that is, if you open here, there's the power supply, and it looks fairly clean. It might need a bit of a cleaning because it's a bit dusty, but if you need to access your power supply, it's in there, and you use the same key as you did for the board, at least unless they changed the keys. But yeah, these are for the board and the power supply. The other set of keys is for the coin door. Well folks, I hope you enjoyed my in-depth review of the Data East Wacky Gator. Hope I brought some nostalgia back for you folks. Special thanks to the Pinball Shop for getting us working for down here. It's nice to have another arcade game down in the basement. It's been like 10 years since I got a new one, so this is pretty cool. This is going to be hopefully a classic AJ staple for some of my future vlogs. Also something fun to do for when guests come over, because it is incredibly addicting. Also, special thanks to all my fans. I thought I'd do something a little bit savage for this video because I love you all. This was incredibly hard to do because I had to take my dad's pickup. It was me and Dad, we went, and we picked up my Pac-Man cabinet that you saw earlier in the video and put that in the truck, and the thing's pretty top heavy, so we put that in the front, and then towards the back of the truck we put this Wacky Gator machine. And just bringing it in the house was a challenge by itself, because we had like 3 people. It was me, Dad, and another friend that lifted this thing. This thing's like 400 pounds, and luckily it's on wheels, so that helps. And we basically dollied it over to the back doors and brought it upstairs, and here it is. So with that being said, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and never miss a single notification. I deeply appreciate all the subs on my channel, and I'm gonna play one more game for good luck. This is
Now I'm angry!
signing out. Peace!
I'm gonna get you! Pretty good.
We'll get him next year.
My goofy uncle is holding me captive and forcing me to watch Crispy Concord's videos. My buddy, Quintilius Barnacle Jones Jr. got smacked in the head with a rhinoceros horn because he was listening to No Maidens.